All right, you degenerates, welcome back to another deep dive. Yeah, I know you're probably thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, not another mythology snooze fest. But hold your horses, you intellectual giants. We're going to rip the Band-Aid off and dive headfirst into the world of Artemis, the baddest bitch in the Pantheon. Forget that watered-down, kiddie-fied version you got in school. We're about to get knee-deep in some Wikipedia war stories. So buckle up, Buttercup, because it's about to get wild.
Color me intrigued. Artemis. More like Artemis, queen of fucking chaos, am I right?
Damn right. We're talking about the goddess who could deliver a baby with one hand and skewer a motherfucker with a bow and arrow in the other. This ain't your grandma's bedtime stories, folks. Yeah. So let's cut the crap and start from the beginning. Artemis popped out on this island called Delos because her dear old dad Zeus was a goddamn man-whore. And his wife Hera was, well, let's just say less than thrilled about it. Hera was so pissed off she banned Artemis's mom Leto from giving birth on any solid ground. So Delos, being this little island loophole, became Artemis's crash pad. Get this little baby. Artemis helped deliver her twin brother Apollo. Talk about a power move right out of the womb.
That's actually a pretty crucial detail. I mean, think about it, helping deliver a baby. Doesn't exactly scream fierce huntress, does it? But that's where it gets interesting. You see, Artemis wasn't just some one-dimensional arrow-slinging badass. She was also a protector, especially of children and young girls. It's this duality, this mix of fierce independence and nurturing power that makes her so damn compelling.
Holy shit. So the goddess of childbirth was also a stone-cold killer. Talk about a fucked up resume. And speaking of killing, let's talk about Artemis's reputation. This chick was not one to fuck with.
Yeah.
Cross her and you'd be begging Hades for a timeout.
Yeah, she wasn't big on second chances. Remember the story of Actaeon? This dude, a hunter, accidentally saw Artemis taking a dip in the buff. Now, a normal person might be like, oops, sorry, didn't mean to intrude on your goddess spa day. But Artemis, she turned him into a goddamn stag and let his own dogs rip him apart.
Yeah.
That's cold-blooded even for a deity.
Yeah, imagine trying to explain that to the afterlife therapist. So, Doc, I got eaten by my own dog because I saw a naked goddess. You think I have mommy issues? It's brutal, man. But here's the kicker. Even with a reputation that can curdle milk, Artemis was worshipped all over the place. Her temple at Ephesus was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, before some asshole decided to burn it down, of course.
Right. It's mind-blowing. She was both feared and revered. Like, people were shitting their togas in terror, but also building giant-ass temples in her honor. That says a lot about the complexity of her character. Artemis wasn't just some one-note bitch. She was a whole damn orchestra. And you can see that reflected in the many epithets the Greeks used to describe her, like divine nicknames, each highlighting a different aspect of her personality.
Okay, let's unpack these epithets because some of them are straight up bonkers. You've got Agroteria, which basically means huntress of the wild. Pretty standard fare for Artemis, right? But then you have Phosphoros and Selasphos, which mean light bringer. Like she's running around with a divine flashlight illuminating the darkness. Kind of a superhero vibe, no. Then there's Calesta, most beautiful. But hold on, she's also associated with goddamn bears? What in the actual fuck?
It's fascinating how these epithets reveal the evolution of Artemis's worship and how different regions emphasize different parts of her story. The Greeks were all about tweaking and remixing their myths, and Artemis was no exception.
Speaking of remixing, can we talk about the whole virgin goddess thing? Like, how does that even work? This is the goddess who helps women give birth, but also punishes dudes for even thinking about getting laid. Someone needs to explain this shit because my brain is short-circuiting.
The eternal enigma of Artemis's virginity. It's probably one of the most misunderstood things about her.
Oh.
On a practical level, you have to remember that hunters back then believed that abstaining from sex made them better at their craft. And being a virgin often meant unmarried and independent in ancient Greece. But on a symbolic level, it's not about asexuality, it's about power. It's Artemis saying, I'm not defined by my relationship to any man. I'm a fucking force of nature and I answer to no one.
Damn, that's a power move right there. So it's less about not having sex and more about being a total boss bitch.
Exactly. It raises a really important question. Is Artemis's virginity a symbol of female power, not its absence?
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's circle back to the bears for a minute. What the hell is up with that? Bears and a virgin goddess who helps with childbirth. It's like a fever dream gone wrong.
The connection between Artemis and bears goes way back, even before the Greeks started telling stories about her. It probably comes from some really old primal beliefs, totemic worship, shamanistic practices, stuff like that. It points to a connection with the raw, untamed power of nature.
So like ancient bear cults, were they sacrificing virgins to bears? Shit that's dark.
Not exactly, but there were these rituals called arctia where young girls would imitate bears before getting married. Imagine that awkward teenage rituals, but with bear costumes.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Teenage rituals are bad enough without adding bear suits to the mix. But it makes you wonder, right? What the hell were they trying to say with all that bear stuff?
It's a fascinating glimpse into how ancient cultures viewed the transition from girlhood to womanhood. And Artemis, in many ways, embodies that transition, the wildness, the independence, the power that comes with stepping into adulthood. It's like she's saying, embrace your inner beast, ladies. Don't let anyone tame you.
Damn, Artemis is dropping some serious truth bombs on us today. So this whole virgin goddess thing was actually a way to empower women, not chain them down.
It's all about perspective. We tend to view things through a modern lens, but back then, virginity had a completely different meaning. For Artemis, it was about freedom, about choosing your own path, about owning your power. She wasn't defined by any man or any societal expectation.
All right, I'm starting to see Artemis in a whole new light. She's not just some uptight virgin goddess with a bow and arrow. She's a badass feminist icon who wasn't taking shit from anyone.
Exactly. She challenged the patriarchal bullshit of her time and embraced her own wild, untamed nature. And that's a message that's still relevant as hell today.
Okay, we've got Artemis. Childbirth hunting bears virginity as a power move. What else have we got? Still the tea expert. What other batshit crazy stories did the Greeks cook up about this goddess?
Well, we've talked about her fierce side, her protector side. But let's not forget about her dark side. Remember how we were talking about her wrath? It wasn't just reserved for peeping toms. Artemis was also associated with sudden death, especially among young women.
What? The protector of girls also brought death. Isn't that a little fucked up even for a Greek god?
Remember, the ancient Greeks didn't sugarcoat shit. They saw the divine in everything, the beautiful and the brutal. Life and death were intertwined, especially in the wild. And Artemis represented those untamed forces.
So basically, don't piss off Mother Nature or Artemis will strike you down. Makes sense, I guess.
It's a bit more nuanced than that. But yeah, respect was crucial in their relationship with the gods. And Artemis, with her deep connection to the wild, demanded a particular kind of reverence.
Okay, I'm getting goosebumps over here. But it makes sense, right? Nature can be beautiful and nurturing, but it can also be a total bitch. Storms, floods, wild animals, it's all part of the deal.
Exactly. And the Greeks, living so close to nature, understood that duality. They personified those forces in their gods. And Artemis embodied that wild, unpredictable energy more than any other.
All right, so we've got childbirth, hunting bears, sudden death. Anything else? Give me the full Artemis download, no filters.
We can't talk about Artemis without mentioning the Trojan War. Remember that whole mess? Well, she sided with the Trojans, mainly because her twin brother Apollo was their patron god. But it goes deeper than that. Artemis represented a challenge to male dominance, and the Greeks, those dudes besieging Troy, were a pretty patriarchal bunch.
So she was a Trojan War badass too. This chick just keeps getting more interesting.
She even got into a brawl with Hera, Zeus's wife. Can you imagine? Two goddesses throwing down divine smackdown over the fate of Troy? It would have been an epic pay-per-view event.
Okay, now I'm picturing it. Artemis and Hera, hair pulling lightning bolts, flying togas, ripping. It would have been better than any reality TV show. But seriously, why all the drama with the Trojans? What was Artemis's problem with the Greeks?
It was probably tied to this clash of cultures between the Greeks and the Trojans. Artemis, with her strong association with the East, might have represented a threat to the Greek way of life, their whole system.
So like a culture war, but with gods. Damn, that's some next level shit.
Exactly. The Trojan War wasn't just about some kidnapped woman. It was about civilizations clashing, values clashing, worldviews clashing. And Artemis, in her opposition to the Greeks, embodied those forces that challenged their power.
Wow. Okay, so we've got Artemis, protector, punisher, warrior goddess, virgin bear enthusiast. Is there anything this chick didn't do?
Well, there's also her connection to the moon. Though not in the same way as the goddess Selene, it's more about the moon's cycles and the natural rhythms of life, especially for women.
So like a proto-feminist icon, fighting for women's rights, kicking ass in the Trojan War, rocking a bow and arrow. Artemis was the original girl power poster child.
It's a modern interpretation, but yeah, there's truth to that. Artemis represented a powerful, independent, feminine archetype that really resonated with the ancient Greeks.
And she still resonates today. Think about all those strong, independent female characters in books, movies, TV shows. They all owe a debt to Artemis. She was the OG, showing the world what a badass woman could do.
It's incredible how these ancient myths still influence how we see the world, how we see ourselves.
Absolutely. Okay, so what's the takeaway for our listeners? Why should they care about this ancient goddess, this bear-loving virgin huntress who could kick your ass and deliver your baby all in the same day?
Artemis's story reminds us that there's power in embracing our wild side, in challenging conventions and standing up for what we believe in. She's a reminder that femininity isn't about weakness or subservience. It can be fierce, independent, and unstoppable.
Damn, that's powerful. So basically, Artemis is telling us to tap into our inner badass, whether we're male or female.
It's about recognizing that those qualities, strength, independence, a connection to nature, aren't inherently masculine or feminine. They're human. And Artemis embodies that potential within all of us.
I feel like I need to go punch a tree or something after this, get my primal on.
Perhaps a hike in the woods would be a more appropriate way to honor Artemis.
Huh, fair enough. Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Artemis, any final thoughts for our listeners? Something to chew on while they're out there punching trees? I mean, hiking respectfully in nature?
If Artemis embodies the wildness of nature, could she also represent the untamed potential within all of us, especially women? That raw, instinctual energy that we often suppress or try to control. What would it look like to embrace that wildness, not in a destructive way, but as a source of strength, creativity, and connection to the world around us? Think about that shit.
Damn, that's deep. All right, folks, that's it for another deep dive. We've gone from childbirth, the bear cults, to the Trojan War, all thanks to the OG badass herself, Artemis. Remember, embrace your wild side, respect nature, and don't be afraid to unleash your inner huntress. And whatever you do, don't piss off Hera. She's got a mean right hook. Until next time, you beautiful degenerates.